Hey, welcome to another episode of Worthy Conversation. I'm your host, your boy Wade J. And today we're discussing a topic that affects millions of men, but too often remain hidden behind smiles, strength, and silence. That is mental health. Brothers, for generations, men have been taught to be tough, to hold it together, never to let them see you struggle. Like back in my days, say, don't let them see you sweat. But you know, many men have learned how to provide. They learn how to protect. And yes, they learn how to persevere. But they were never taught how to process pain, grief, anxiety, depression, disappointment, and Brother CT, the trauma of everything. You see, the reality is that many men are suffering in silence. And right there, listen, guys, I got Brother C.T. Kirk in the building with me tonight, in the studio with me tonight. He our co-host of Worthy Conversation. And, man, anytime we get to have Brother C.T. at the table, man, we going to feast. You already know we're going to feast. We're going to eat. He going to cook, and we're going to eat. But listen, guys, tonight we're talking about mental health, guys. And Brother C.T. wrote this book, Breaking the Silence. And my wife, she done heavily used it. Hey guys, if you get this book right here called Breaking the Silence, there's a lot of nuggets in this book written by the author C.T. Kirk. There's a lot of nuggets in this book that were with a lot of telltale signs, what your husband may be going through, what your children may be going through, your son, you know, your nephew, your granddaddy, your father, you know, maybe going through. And those are some signs, some nuggets in that book will really help you. If you get a chance, I'll let him talk about that a little later on. Breaking the Silence, guys. It's a really good book that's really going to help you to define some things that's going on. But the reality is that many men, CT, are suffering in silence. Mm-hmm. You know, some are battling, yes, stress from work, financial pressures, family responsibility, broken relationship, and past hurt, and also personal expectation. Brother CT, on the outside, they may look strong.
That's right.
But internally, he may be carrying burdens nobody even know about. And guys, I don't want to take up a lot more of your time because I want Pastor C.T. Kirk to dive in this thing, and I want him to cook, and we're going to feast, guys. So whether you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, we're going to dive right into this real-life conversation, guys. We ask that you subscribe to the channel, share, like, share some more, and comment, guys. This is Worthy Conversation, where real people have real conversation about real life. You know, statistics say, and we doing some more fact checking on this, fewer than 1 in 3 who needs help will actually seek treatment. Mm-hmm. The question is, Brother CT, why are we suffering in silence?
It's like the thing that's most important to us a lot of times are things that we really don't dig into. I've heard people say about how much counseling costs. I heard people say, ain't nothing wrong with me. I know we were raised in a day where if you said anything about mental health, somebody would say something was wrong with you. Yeah. We all had that uncle or that cousin that we just marked off as something is wrong with them, and we kind of threw that to the side. But the truth of the matter is, a lot of people are afraid to cry out for help because of a spirit of pride. It is a pride to say that I don't have it. You know, when you amass your fortune, you get your car, you get your house, the first thing that you want everybody to think is that you have arrived, when mentally you could be going through. You can be physically rich and mentally poor, and still afraid to cry out for help and say, hey, I don't have it all together. Especially us as men. We are afraid to say, you know, at the end of the day, I don't feel like I am worthy, or I am accepted, or sometimes I'm just loved. And even though someone can tell you how great you are, some of us are still holding on to that one thing that went wrong in our lives, mm-hmm. and have never recovered from it.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Don't suffer in silence, guy. You know, I was listening to you saying this, but I think about us men. We'll go to the doctor for a broken bone, but we won't seek help for a broken heart, a broken spirit, or either a troubled mind. What's that all about, CT? You know, what you think?
And I tell people this all the time. If you're not going to wait on a broken leg to get better before you go to the doctor, then don't wait on yourself to heal yourself. Mm-hmm. And there are times when we can simply, if we cry out, we can get the help that we need to be able to fix that broken heart or that mental mindset. I even reflect on today how I remember in the 7th grade, I was crying over a young lady, not realizing that in that moment, I was ready to lose it all. I was ready to throw in the towel. Wow. Suicidal thoughts flooding all through my head. In fact, 80% of suicides in America are men. And we find in the African American culture, 20 to 24-year-olds are committing suicide at alarming rates because we don't know how to live outside of a moment. We feel like that moment is all that we have, not realizing here I am 46 now, like, oh my goodness, if I would have died in that moment, I would have missed out on so much of life because I didn't know how to deal with one simple moment of displeasure.
Wow. Yes, and that's a great point, man. That's a great segue for this. Yes, and suicide thoughts and tendency. Man, don't suffer in silence, guy. I know you're going to hear me say that a lot, but talk to somebody. And Brother CT, I'm a lot older than you guys. I'm speaking from my brothers 55 and up. Now, back when I was young, and I'm in my 60s, so guys, listen. And I'm talking to the brothers that at that age, I know you was taught just like I was taught. Hey, never let them see you cry. A man ain't just supposed to cry. He ain't even supposed to say, I love you. Man, we weren't allowed to say the thing. So you think one of my brothers would go lay on the sofa and tell somebody else about their conversation, about their thoughts, about their ideas on what they're thinking inside their mind? Man, they wouldn't do it. They wouldn't go get help. Now, I know maybe over the last 10 or 15 years, it may be improving, but the number is still right around 36% where they will go seek some help. The number is really low for in our black community of men not seeking help. So, that's just something we wouldn't do. Not only wouldn't do, I don't think we was even allowed to do it. I'm talking about the older generation, guys. We weren't allowed to do it. So in the older generation, that mindset was like I was thinking, because, and I'm going to tell you, I'm going to be transparent a little later on in this conversation, but, we weren't allowed to say, I'm hurting. Hey, man, I got a broken heart. I got trauma, and really, I think Jamie and I was having a conversation about trauma just a few weeks ago. Man, trauma is a serious thing that most time, I don't even know, do you really understand that you having some trauma situation? I think PTSD, I might jack that name up. I think I just jacked it up. But anyway, y'all know what I'm talking about. That's come from a lot of stress-related issues. And I think we walking around with all kind of stuff in our minds and our body that we not dealing with, Brother CT.
Oh yeah, because we've been taught how to be reactive. It goes back to what you say. Once a man gets to the point where he feels like he can take no more, then he wants help. Mm-hmm. A lot of times when I sit down with couples, and when it's ever the man that is initiating the counseling, I'm already pretty much know the wife is at the point where she's ready to divorce. Mm-hmm. And he's coming to me now hoping that I can say something that can magically save the relationship. So if we stop being responsive and start being preventative, when we start seeing signs, when we start seeing breakdowns, when we start seeing weaknesses, and then we are more preventive than responsive, we'll see more things. It's like, I'm not going to wait till I get sugar diabetes to go to the gym. Right. No, I'm going to the gym now because I want to prevent the inevitable from happening to me. And so I get the preventive mindset. Okay, so if you're going through some things in your life and you're starting to look at, because even though trauma is the big one, we got to look at the triggers. Mm-hmm. What triggers you this way? So if it's something in your past that triggers your emotions to go crazy, you need to be able to prevent those things from happening and put things in your place. And I will tell you this, one of the biggest causes of stress today is because we have men and women that don't have hobbies. When I was young, my uncle would go bowling.
Wow.
3 times a week, and that would release. You had people that went fishing. You had people that did arts and crafts, did intricate puzzles. Well, now we're sitting there and we're making social media our hobby. And what happens with social media? You get more depressed when you see someone living a life that you feel like you don't live, but you don't realize that's somebody else's highlights.
Yes.
They're just putting it all out there. Or you're not even thinking about that kind of car. But because somebody else got it, now all of a sudden you're feeling bad about the car that's been dependable for the last 20 years sitting in your driveway.
Right.
And I think that when we get solid hobbies, when we get communication, look at communication now. People will text you before they pick up the phone and have a 3-hour conversation. People will go to restaurants and text and look at each other's face and don't have a conversation. Well, those things were able to relieve stress because what is good counseling? Being able to talk and somebody listening to you.
Right.
And they don't even have all the time the magic thing to help you. And sometimes you just walk out saying, God, I needed to get that off my chest. Well, what could happen if you did that in your family? If families were sitting around a table and everybody was able to, at the end of the day, just release everything that was going on, we will see healthier relationships. But because we have shut those doors on communication, no hobbies, we don't go anywhere, now we're setting ourselves up for more emotional strain.
Right. You know, I think you hit a great point because I think stress of finance. You know, a lot of time things are so high now, you know, and we want to keep up with the Joneses. So here we are trying to work 3 or 4 different jobs. We trying to do this, we trying to do that, just to keep up with the Joneses. And here we are stressing ourselves out because we don't have the funds to really do what we want to do, you know, and do some of the things we want to do because we're looking at somebody else's story. But you know, where we should be focusing on our own story. But you know,
and when you remember this, the greatest time in our life was probably from 2020 to about 2023 when COVID was rapid in the land. People didn't go anywhere, so you were looking in your closet saying, "Why did I buy all these clothes?
Right.
Why do I have all these shoes?" Now it doesn't mean anything to me. Nobody's looking at my feet anymore. Nobody's looking at this. And COVID was a time where families had to come together.
Right.
When you left out of COVID, you missed your grandmother, you missed your grandfather. People were running to go to church to have some kind of fellowship because we seen what happens. Now think about your mind going through a COVID moment in your mind where you don't have anybody, you don't have anything to release, and how you are dying in the inside but you're smiling on the outside, as you alluded to earlier. And so just being able to, that fellowship is very important for us, and we need to get back to that.
Yeah. And people, let's stop telling our men, you know, just letting somebody talk to you talking to somebody is a sign of weakness. Like I said at the beginning, to me, that's a sign of wisdom. Now, when in my younger day, when I was 33, yes, man, I like, man up, you know, handle that problem on your own. You know, unfortunately, this type of mindset can keep a man isolated. And really, that's what the devil wants to do. He wants to keep you isolated. If he got you one-on-one, he can attack you any kind of way. But listen, when there's 2 or 3 gathered in the midst, you know, that's support.
That's right.
You can get some support. But CT, if you want to relate to your book, what are some warning signs that a man may be struggling mentally? What are some warning signs? You know, I don't know if you could think off the top of your head if you want your book, you know, some warning signs. And Jamie, you can jump in on this too, because, you know, there may be some warning signs that you've seen that we may be struggling with mentally and we don't even know it.
I think some of the warning signs is unmet expectations. When we put expectations on men to perform a certain way. And again, I allude back to social media can be a big stressful place when a woman goes home and say, well, you know what such has, or look at what such and such doing. And that man has to try to internalize that, because as men, we were created to be fixers. Yeah. So if our wife say, well, Wade's them always going on vacation, the first thing in our mind is, well, we got to set up a vacation. Yeah. All right. And if we gotta work an extra job, if we gotta struggle, if we gotta strain, if that means we can't go and get a necktie this week, we're going to do what we have to do. And so I think a lot of times those unmet expectations that other people throw on you, because people throw on you what a man should be.
Right.
I remember a black man had to be hardcore. He had to be solid. He had to look militant. If you talk correct English, if you smiled, and you were a sellout. And those unmet expectations make a man say, okay, well, I got to be more of this, more of that, because we got to realize within ourselves, a lot of us did not have strong men that say, okay, listen, being a strong man means means you can cry.
Right.
Being a strong man means you can love one woman for the rest of your life and be the best man in the world. Strong man means that you can talk correct, or you can get an education. All of this being strong man. No, we thought that strong men were you're struggling, you're scraping, you're loud, you're frustrated, all of this. And so those signs right there alone, and I would tell any ladies this: if you're putting an unmet expectation on your man, then you're going to lead him to more stress than you are good days. Because if you went into it and he was not a multimillionaire, then you shouldn't even be thinking about yacht unless you're saying we're gonna get on savings plan and we're gonna have that moment ourselves. I also find it crazy that when I hear men say, hey, that's been my best friend for 30 years. That man, we've been through a lot, and that man didn't even know you was going through all that you was going through. How is that your best friend 30? So all y'all talked about was playing cards and basketball. Y'all never sat down and had an emotional conversation that could help heal one another.
Wow.
Because the Bible says that two of us are better than one, because when one is down, the other one can pick him up.
Right.
And so many times we don't look for that other person. We want, oh man, we just hang out, we cool, we doing all this. But what about when you're going through and you're sitting in silence? Can you not reach out to him and say, man, listen, I just need 5 minutes for you to pray for me and just talk to me. I'm thinking about just walking out on everything.
And that's cool to do it.
It's cool.
And that's why the brother got to understand, brothers, it's all right to do that. And especially you're going to do it with your brother. You call him your best friend, and he don't know you suffering, guys. Like CT said, that there's something. Maybe he may need, I'm not saying throw you to the side, but he may need another friend. Because he going to need that person that he can go and, hey, brother, I just need to talk to you. Give me 5 minutes of your time tonight. And you hit something that I wanted to touch on, and before I come back to some other stuff, and then it's a question I had about successful men, and struggle with mental health, and a lot of people don't think, but if you go back and look over society, just look at society, a lot of the successful people are the ones doing more struggling than we down here. That's that you consider, because I consider myself successful. I don't have a bunch of money, but I think God has continually keep on blessing me. So, this ain't the topic, but success can be identified in many different ways. It ain't all about having money, And now we put money on everything, but it ain't all about money. But can a successful man still struggle with mental health?
Oh, we're about to get hot in here. Oh, yes. One of the most successful men in the world was one of the most loneliest people in the world. That was Michael Jackson. And I remember Big Boy had an interview saying, hey, Michael was asking him, what does it feel like to go to the movies? What does it feel like to go to grocery stores and not be bombarded with people, and you don't have to put on makeup or dress up. You can just go out and be yourself. And a lot of times successful men struggle because of the weight of being successful. And it's hard when you're successful if everybody else around you is not successful, because then you become the person that they lean on the most. I was talking to a group of NFL players that was basically confiding in me, and they was like, everybody thinks that once you make it to the NFL, you instantaneously Tom Brady, not realizing you may be at the bottom of the barrel trying to make it. And don't say nothing if you're in one of those states where you're heavily taxed, and then you bringing home the money of a successful school teacher, but everybody's depending on you because they see you on television. And then I heard Mike Epps say, comedy is the dark place. A lot of people who are comedians are in a dark place because you got to make everybody else laugh, and you might be going through yourself. And so success for us who are on one bracket looks like money. And I hear people say, well, money won't buy you happiness, but give me some money, let me see. But then at the end of the day, money alone is not going to be able to successfully hold you. I look at, because I work with the homeless so much, I look at this homeless man walking down the street and his homeless female companion, and she's faithful to the T.
Yes, sir.
They're carrying tents, they're carrying bags, they don't know where they're going to sleep at, they don't know where they're going to eat, but as long as they got each other, they are content. When you see marriages, in successful marriages, divorce every other year, and you're like, okay, if all y'all can do is vacation and go on cruise ship, why are you not happy? It's because we don't deal with on the inside of us what's really going on. And all money is going to do is mask what you're going through, or it's going to highlight your demons.
And something you said about the homeless man, and you know what them brothers would do, man, they would They might have one bottle. But everybody gonna get a little taste out that bottle.
Oh yeah. 1 tent, they gonna get as many as they can in it. One apartment, they gonna invite all their friends over because they learn that real success is in who I can help, not just me helping myself.
Right.
And that's what brings me joy and working in the community. Like I know everybody that I serve is not going to come to my church,
right.
but at the same time, they cannot be able to say nobody in the Christian faith is not helping you, and Jesus is not evident in our lives. And I think when you find inner peace, you're going far.
Yeah. You brought up Michael Jackson, man. Can you imagine him, what he went through on a day-to-day basis to go out in the public? You know, he couldn't even go to the grocery store, man. He couldn't go through a movie. I was listening at this morning. Tucker? Chris Tucker was talking about how he would have to put on a Spider-Man mask. You know, do something so. And Chris Tucker said, "Hey, man, now everybody see me. You're going to know that's Michael Jackson, you know." But anyway, just the trauma that he had to even go out.
That's right.
And he had fame. Man, everybody knew Michael
Couldn't even go to sleep at night, though.
You know.
Prince hurt your back wearing high heels trying to dance for the crowd. And I think a lot of times we live for the people. And I always tell men this whenever we have workshops, whenever we have moments. I say, write down the 3 most important people in your life. And relationship. They'll put God, they'll put family, they'll put career. Men never put me. We never prioritize ourselves.
Wow.
We have been taught that every relationship outside of us is important. And at the end of the day, your family is going to take. Your friends are going to take. And at the end of the day, the only time you're really going to be celebrated outside of a birthday, outside of an anniversary or Christmas or Father's Day is when you're dead. You know, that's when everybody who is going to come around and talk about how great Wade was. Now when you need somebody now, they probably not running to you. But when you gone, everybody's going to go around you. So I found it more acceptable that if I'm really going to be a great father, if I'm going to really be a great husband, then I got to be great to me.
Wow.
I got to take care of me, or else you're going to get my leftovers. You're going to get my drama. You're going to get my frustration.
Yes.
'Cause I gave the job my best. I gave the church my best. I gave my family my best. But at the end of the day, now my kid's getting a little bit because I didn't learn how to take care of myself.
Yeah. And that's a great point you just hit on, and that was something when I was saying about some warning sign. Family, if you see your man, your husband, your brothers, increase anger, that's a sign. You know, just because one dish was in the sink wasn't washed and he just blowing up over that stuff, hey, check on him. That's a sign.
Oh, he tired.
Change the sleep patterns. Loss of interest in activities. Man, I don't want to do that, but I want to go home and get on a recliner. I just want to chill. I just, I do that too, but I'm just saying, make sure, that you do check. Substance abuse. So many have turned to alcohol. Back in my day, like I was saying, from the 55 and 60 on up.
Wow. Like Kevin Hart. Wow, 55, 60.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. That's what's there. That was their go-to. Some drugs, pills, but alcohol was their go-to, man. It numbed all the pain. So, but it was only masking it because it wasn't fixing it.
That's right.
It wasn't fixing it. So, wealthy people do struggle with mental illness a lot, and they are more open with it now. About their challenges with depressions, emotional pain, and which I'm good. I'm glad they're being more open with it. Maybe that'll help some of us.
That's right.
To be more open with it. Like, hey, man, this man a billionaire. He talking about he got stress. What kind of? I know you went in your mind what kind of stress he would have, but
lots of it, lots of it. Because everybody that's not billionaires are trying to get to you.
Yeah, so absolutely, success does not eliminate stress.
And what you're talking about is so important because I think that when we measure success probably by money more so than we do anything else.
Yes.
You can be a dummy with money and you're instantaneously a philosopher because you got people now that have podcasts. You got people now that have the ear of people that they don't know nothing what they're talking about, but because they have money, they are seen as successful. And so that's a weight right there when people are depending on you. Another position that people don't realize, a lot of pastors commit suicide. A lot of pastors experience burnout where you're trying to be everything for the ministry, but you're trying to be everything for your family, and you can never have a turn-off moment. Like, nobody wants to hear their pastor say, man, I was struggling to the point that I was thinking about going to get drunk.
Wow.
Man, I was struggling to the point where I was feeling like cussing somebody out. We seen a pastor just recently in social media that got so upset with this guy who was taunting his church so much that they were fighting.
Yeah.
And what are people saying? Well, you're a pastor. You're supposed to know. You don't know what that man was going through on the inside.
Right.
That it finally snapped.
Yeah.
And that young boy just happened to be the recipient of all that snapping, all of that build up, all of that thing that those not going to hobbies, those having to do church meeting, those that you're trying to be the strongest man and you're trying to keep your family looking good before the public eye. And I always said those are the struggles and the pressures. Imagine what President Obama went through. You're the first African American man. You can't say some of the things that the current administration says. Those are pressures that people don't say, you know what, let me stop and pray for my leaders. Let me stop and pray for my pastors. It's always, well, I'm glad they're responsible for my soul. But sometimes you got to be able to be like when Jesus needed those disciples. Would you just wait 1 hour, pray? Yeah. Jesus was going through in Gethsemane.
Oh, my God.
The Bible says he was sweating blood.
Yes, sir.
And they're going to sleep because they're so used to him healing the sick, raising the dead. You God, man, you got this. And he was like, just 1 hour, I'm asking you.
Can you just wait?
Yeah.
Man, that's incredible, and that's so true. Since you're touching on that, let's touch on the faith part. You know, since we're right there with the Jesus sweating blood, that is incredible. But you know, faith is good. Faith is good. You got to have faith, but why are you having that faith if you need some professional counseling?
That's right.
Get that professional counseling. Right. Then they work together, and they work together better than against each other. So you know. You know, the word tells us, cast your cares on him, for he cares for you. Definitely seek Jesus, but seek that brother over there that can that you may have to lay down on that couch too. And I wish I'd have learned where I'm at now. Now, like I said, back in my early years, this conversation about mental health, I wouldn't be having this conversation because I thought I had to be strong. I had to be tough. I couldn't show no sign. Man, you know what? In my life now, I don't mind telling the brother, I love you. Man, we wouldn't say that to another brother because it showed sign that, man, way weak. You know, that's weak.
Yeah.
Man, I think that's a sign of strength now. You know, the Bible tells us iron sharpens iron, man. You know, so we ought to be brother enough that we can sharpen each other, help each other out. You know, so. And
that came from toxic masculinity. It said that men don't cry, men don't go through. I remember playing on the football team. Look at James smiling over there when you say that big word. I remember playing on the football team. I know I had a concussion. Back then they called it ringing your bell, getting your bell ring. And my head was throbbing and I was dead. But I was told, go back out there and you get him back. You make the hit back. And so that right there, if you cried, if you complain. I remember falling off the jungle gym at 6 years old. My teacher saying, "Go do it again." You know, you bleed, and I'll wipe that up. And it's so prevalent in our mental state that even as a teacher, I'm quick to almost go there. Like, oh man, that little bit of blood. Oh, come on, man, you hurting on that. Because I was raised in that, you know, and I'm not saying that, you know, this generation ain't soft on some levels. Some levels they are. You be like, oh, come on now, really? But I have to be careful not to say men don't do this. Right. You know, or that's not coming of age, because I could be pressing on that same negative, that same false, toxic masculinity that I got. That men don't cry, or that you're this if you cry. Or so I got to be very careful. And you got to be very careful, because with your sons, you know, a lot of men live through their sons. Like, you know, I didn't make it to the NFL, but you got talent, but you can make it. And so when they be like, I'm tired, I don't want to do this no more. No, you're going to do this. Like, you know, and so we have to be careful with that. You know? Really.
Yeah. You know, I think it's all right, but I think it takes courage for a man to admit that he needs help. Why do we have to have that courage? Why we just can't say it? Why do we think it takes so much courage just to get and say, hey man, I need help, brother?
Yeah, I mean, and that goes back to when you don't prioritize yourself. A lot of times you put yourself and your needs to the back burner for someone else. Like you might say, hey, I need a vacation right now. But if your wife say, hey, I want to go to the mall and just shop, you're going to think, okay, let me get her to the mall and shop. Because another a false statement that we hear so many times, happy wife, happy life, when it should be happy spouse, happy house.
I like that.
And that means that the woman is just as go-getty for her husband's needs as he is for her needs.
Yeah.
And when and I always go like into this because I think a lot of times we do an injustice to Brother Abraham and Sister Eve. Like we always say, well, if I had that relationship with God, I'd never do that. I wouldn't talk to no serpent. But then you're talking to prostitutes. You're talking to porn television. You're talking to all these other things. But imagine being the first male and the first female. Nobody else is setting an example for you. Imagine being David out there on the roof. You the king. You can get any woman you want, and you see this beautiful woman out there taking this bath. And a lot of times the Bible is that example for us to let us know that even with connection to God in the vocal voice or the audible voice, these people still made mistakes. So yet we still are going to make mistakes, but we have this clear-cut path to say, okay, how do I put these barriers and I put these borders in my life so I don't make certain mistakes? Like when I feel like I'm about to go off, I need somebody in the house to yell a key word that brings me back down, let me know, okay, I'm about to go off. Or I need to be able to say 5-minute break and I go outside. That's good for my mental health because I don't want to hurt my kids because of something a boss man did. So as a teacher, and people say, well, how do you carry so many hats? I said, because I take those hats off where I am.
Yeah.
You know, when I'm at church, the pastoring is over. Now I'm the husband.
Yeah.
I'm the father. At school, I'm the teacher, but when I clock out, I'm no longer the teacher. Why? Because I understand that a lot of times you could be carrying weights to places that you're not supposed to have those weights at.
Yeah.
It's like you as a police officer, you can't go in the house and say, hey, wife, you are under arrest. Unless you, and I know we got some people out there that's nasty. Yeah, you can't look at Jamie Randolph. Yeah, I mean, but you understand, well, you can't go in there with Captain Wade or Detective Wade in the house.
Yeah. Man, you know, I wish I would have had these type of conversations back when I was 33, man, and I'll be a little transparent. When I was 33, my first wife, she died in my arms. We had 2 little boys. And man, I'm like, you know, like I say, I got that old school thinking. I got that old way of thinking. Man, we don't need to talk to nobody. And here I am passing this down to these 2 little boys. They not 10, 11 years old. And when now they are 40 years old, man, do you know the damage I probably did to those kids by not getting some help? Man, I'm telling you, I lost 15 pounds in 1 week. I went from being a pre-diabetic to taking shots. You know, I had people betting on me, man, that, man, I don't know, Wade coming back off this, man. That's how bad I was. And I still wouldn't go get help, man. And, man, to literally, I felt like I hit the wall, man. Mm-hmm. I felt myself going down. And I thank God that he reached down and grabbed me, man. But just to think, if I would have had this type of conversation, hey, wait, man, you might need some therapy. Mm-hmm. You may need some counseling. Hey, man,
or it's okay to cry. Yeah. It's okay to mourn. And I tell people that because people think that grief is easy. Grief is the hardest form of trauma to get in, especially if it's a chronic grief. Mm-hmm. And chronic grief is you lost multiple people over a span of time. Mm-hmm. You lost your wife, you lost your mother, you lost this, and now all of a sudden you feel like you're by yourself. And people don't tell you with grief, Mother's Day is not going to stop coming. Right. Father's Day is going to come around. Mm-hmm. Birthdays are going to come around. Those memories are coming around. You know, and that grief not even is death, but grief can be feeling like you lost out on a college opportunity, or you lost out on your football career. Right. You lost out on who's supposed to be your spouse. And people don't tell us that these things are real. Like this is a process to be able to move forward, not move on, but move forward from those moments of grief.
That grief turns to trauma.
Oh yeah,
and it turned to a whole lot of other things. So, you know, man, you know, not getting treated for it, man, you know, I dealt with that for a long time because we wasn't having these type of conversations.
That's right.
These type of conversations that you and I are having today, these type of conversations that's breaking the silence, nobody knew I was silent but my sisters. They knew. They knew all the signs like, man, he going through something. You know what I'm saying? But they knew, but I should have known that, man, if I'm going through this, what that 10, 11-year-old child could be going through.
Exactly.
That lost their mom. So these conversations are much needed. We need to have more dialogue like this. We need to have more conversation talk about mental health.
Yeah. And sometimes even in that position, being able to say, hey, I don't have the answers. I don't know, but we're going to get through this together. If y'all boys need to come in here and cry, we're going to cry together. I want y'all to talk about her. Don't put up pictures down, whatever it takes to get you to the place of healing. You know, and a lot of times people don't tell us that. They're like, okay, once, you know, because that funeral, once that body goes in the ground, everybody else goes on with life.
Yes, sir.
But the people that have to deal with it the most. You know, the preacher going to go back and he going to move on because he's done got in his mind, death is a part of life.
Yes.
And you know, I've done it at my young age, over 50 funerals, but I still cry when I see the families come down because that sense right there. But I know they still gonna be crying after today.
Yes, sir.
And I'm going to pretty much moved on in life. And so I think that people need to have those real conversations when you lose a son.
But a man not supposed to cry.
Yeah. We're gonna break that tonight. We're gonna break that tonight because even women when they have miscarriages, like you never held that baby, but at the same time you're still dealing with that trauma. You're still dealing with those things. And so if they can be able to talk it out, then we need a Me Too movement for men to say you can talk it out too. And I found this website when I was doing research for the book 1 in 6. And it was talking, and this book was talking about when I wrote the book, Why Me, Boys Are Molested Too, and it was like 1 in 6 men are molested. And I was interviewing different men. It was like, you know what? I didn't even realize that I was when that older girl molested me, what that was gonna play in my mind. But everybody else was telling me, "Oh man, that's cool. She did that. I wish my babysitter did that. I wish my teachers did that." But at the same time, it was setting a perverted spirit in that man's mindset. And so we got to be able to talk those things out and get to the bottom of it. Because if not, then we're gonna see a lot of crushed men because nobody's saying anything.
Yeah, and that's good because I think a lot of this. And this just my point of view, guys. This is just my perspective. I think a lot of the child-on-child sexual content stuff, somebody have been. That child got it from somewhere. I put it like that. And I think that should be the deeper issue. Why we like, hey, why is he doing this? Why she's doing this? You know, there may be an underlying factor. Why?
That's right.
Because maybe they have been touched.
That's right.
Or whatever, you know. But back to that grief, yeah, man, that grief is it's a tough thing. But yeah, man, these type of conversation, if we would have had them a long time ago, it would have helped so many of us. I mean, I'm gonna just say my black men, my black brothers, like I say, during my age and above, because, you know, we were, so, you know, I'm here talking to my boy, hey man, we gonna be strong, man. We gonna be strong. We gonna get through it, son. We gonna be strong. You know, when I should have been saying, hey, bro, look, I'm gonna take y'all. Let's go talk to somebody.
Yeah.
And I ain't the one to talk to.
Yeah.
Because I'm going through what you're going through. You know.
Yeah. I had a situation where I know that a child just was so frustrated with their father so many years until he finally asked, you know, what did I do to you to make you have such a distaste for me? And she basically let him know, you forgot about mama.
Wow.
You know, mama had been dead, but you never talked about her. You never took me to the gravesite. You never said anything about her. So I felt like my mama was forgotten and that you didn't care. Not realizing his way of dealing with grief was, let me try to move on beyond this, but not dealing with it in his daughter's eyes was a sense of, okay, the strongest man in my life does not even love my mother now that she's gone away, like it was her idea to die. And so I think that, you know, those conversations have to be real. You know, even if your son, you know, if he misses out on a scholarship, if he misses out on football, he still needs to know that he's worthy, that he's loved, that he's somebody, you know, because you look at how many NFL players are committing suicide or getting on drugs because their shot is over with. And that's all they built their whole life for, was that one moment that now it's gone.
Wow.
And now they're like, okay, what am I going to do? Go back to a classroom? When am I going to sell cars? And we don't deal with those things. And a lot of times we miss out. And I want to bring up this point because I think this is so prominent now with black men. Black men have to be careful not to allow society to base your greatness on the next great black man.
Yeah.
I always say this with LeBron. Ain't nobody asking you to be Michael Jordan. You be the best LeBron.
Yes.
Will Smith can be Will Smith without having to be Denzel Washington.
Yes.
You know, because they always set a ceiling for us. No matter how high we try to go. Kevin Hart's up, well, guess what? Now Eddie Murphy's higher.
Yeah.
Eddie Murphy was up, then Richard Pryor. And then there's always a ceiling for your greatness. And you got to be able to look within yourself saying, I'm going to give this the best that I can. Why? Because everything God gave me, I was able to use that and achieve what I needed to achieve.
Hey, I want to cut right here. I want to go somewhere. Jamie, I don't know if you got a mic. I don't know if you feel like talking tonight, But
Check 1, 2.
I want you to talk to my people a little bit about trauma, because you and I, me and James, was a few weeks ago, we was actually in there working on some editing and mixing some stuff down, and we really had a good conversation, which I'm telling you, since Worthy Conversation come out, guys, I have been so enlightened, because learning to listen to different perspectives of people's thoughts, it would help you. Don't you let it be all your way all the time, because there are some really good perspectives. And I tell anybody, since Worthy Conversation, hey guys, I have really had a really change of mindset about things since Worthy Conversation, since Brother C.T. Kirk came on, Chelsea Sims, A.T. Murdoch, Jamie Brown, and also my son Wade. Ever since we started this podcast, man, it has really changed my life, man. It really have.
All right, Jamie, let me hear what you're going to say.
No, I like what you were saying, CT, about said the guy, the kid was mad because he felt like the mama was forgotten. And a lot of times, like you said, the dad, his way of dealing with the trauma was to move on. But a lot of times we won't be moving on.
No.
And what I've learned from therapy is you gotta face that trauma head on and and actually deal with it actively, instead of like moving on ain't always moving on.
That's right. That's right.
You're just burying it down into one of your organs.
That's right.
And then when it fails, it's gonna fail. But yeah, like just confronting it right on, dealing with it, sitting through the uncomfortable parts about it, so that you can come back on the other end. Yeah. So.
Hey, Jamie, could you give my audience viewers a little tips on what that looked like, and what that looked like as into hitting it head on when they're
So like with that situation, I guess an example would be kind of like the child wants to deal with it. The child wants to like still engage in the idea of mom. Like, cause I want, if I have a more avoidant type of attitude about it, I'm gonna try to move away from it because it's painful.
right.
But the child wants to sit in there and like remember mom and go through those things. Like so that would be like my therapist calls that response prevention or whatever. So basically, go to the grave, talk to her, like embrace the actual reality that
You cooking.
she still exists. She's just not here. So like, don't treat it like she ain't there, because that's
Yes.
traumatizing too.
That's
Yes,
right.
yes,
That's right.
I like that, Jamie.
Go to
That's
that
good
grave.
stuff right there, man.
Yeah, go to their grave, have conversation, think those thoughts, feel those feelings. If you need to cry, cry. Don't not cry. Don't try to stay away from the
That's
thoughts.
right.
You know
Yes.
what I'm saying?
Right.
So yeah, that's a good example.
I
to
like
me.
that what he said, tackling head on. You had to walk right into the giant.
Yeah.
You know, that wall is that giant, but I'm that giant is that wall. That stress, that grief is that wall. That grief is that giant. So you just have to tackle it head on.
Yeah.
Right.
And one thing I think that the church is starting to do a better job at is we're not associating mental illness with demonic oppression. We see the difference
Yes.
between them. I think it was one time that we felt like we could pray everything out of everyone. And that's because we misinterpreted Jesus, who dealt with the whole person.
Yes.
Like Jesus just didn't show up in the scene with Mary Magdalene and Mary crying over Lazarus and say, "Oh, get up, Lazarus."
Yeah.
No, he wept. He showed them, "Hey, I can cry too."
Yes.
As your savior, I feel too like you feel. And I think that now the church is now starting to move to that area that, okay, oil is not going to break everybody's problem.
Right.
You know, that you have to deal with situations where people have built up, divorced. You got to be able to build up people to understand that, hey, this is a traumatic situation you're about to go through, and we're here to help you, because the church should be that safe place.
Right.
It should be a place where regardless of what you went through, you have people who are going to love you back to where you're supposed to be in Christ. And I think that's better than just saying, oh, these people going through demonic demonics and let's pray it all. No, you got people that are going through real issues because the Bible shows you people with real issues when you break it down. Abraham had to leave his family and trust God to go somewhere else.
Wow.
What? He didn't do it right. He brought Lot along with him because he needed some kind of level of familiarity until they fell out. Moses went through. He was a murderer. Moses had to go through with people who he didn't even understand all of the language because he was so far removed from them. So all of these different things that we see in their nature and in their characteristics show us that God loved them to the place where they were able to fulfill His will. But they were nowhere near perfect people. And when we remove that mask of I've got to be perfect, I gotta be a preacher. I can't show Jamie that I'm going through, or I'm supposed to know better than this. I can't let him know that I'm having these thoughts. I remember my wife was pregnant, and I don't know what it was, but every commercial was Samuel Adams beer. And it was selling, it's got Barkley, it's got hops. And I was triggered. I don't know what it was. I got to taste it more. I got to taste it. I got to go get Samuel Adams beer. And I rode around the stores, and I realized they didn't sell one, so I got to buy a 6-pack. And I went to the grocery store, and I went down the beer, and I said, no, I don't want this. And I went back down again. And the minute I was ready to grab it, a preacher came around the corner, hey, Reverend Kirk. And I was like, yeah, what's up? I said, man, you don't know where them eggs at. This is a hardware store. But I had it was a real trigger of, okay, this is something that I need in there. But I couldn't tell nobody, hey, man, I'm thinking about going to get some Samuel Hopkins beer. But I knew that God had somebody say, hey, no, you don't need it at that time. And I went home and slept it off. But I think that we put up so many mirrors of what we feel like people want to see and what is acceptable. And that causes us to lose ourselves so many times.
I think one thing that'll set us free is if we realize that, and this might sound crazy when I say it, I don't think God measures on morality. Say it again. I don't think He majors on morality. And what I mean by that is, like, if you look at David, I think we were talking about this.
Yeah, man, we're talking about David.
Right, you look at David. David did a lot of trifling stuff.
Yes, sir.
So if God was like majoring on morality, you wouldn't be reading about David. What I think God wants is not so much as like a perfection, but just count on Him. Like, put it on Him. No matter like what you got going on, put it on Him.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
You want you to trust Him.
Right.
Trust
like,
Him.
because I already know you jacked up.
Yeah,
like it ain't really about that. It's about how much will you lean on me.
Yeah,
right.
And our weakness He has made strong.
Yeah.
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 Because that's what I'm saying. Like, but I feel like that'll set people free when they realize not only do you not have to be perfect, you need to stop focusing on whether you're perfect or not, or whether you're being like doing a good job at being right or not.
Yeah, the Bible says one thing about David, he was man after God's own heart because he was always repenting. He already knew, hey, God, I need you.
Right, because keep him at the
I'm finna do some dumb stuff if you don't come help me. You know, and I think that's what helps us a lot of times in our traumatic situations, that okay, it's not meant for me to be able to solve every problem by myself.
Right.
You know, it's not meant for me to be able to do this by myself. In this day and time, it's not meant for me to have to be able to pay all the bills by myself being a teacher, because that's far-fetched. You know, and it's going to be a 6-figure teacher, a 7-figure teacher out there. And so being able to do those things are freeing within yourself. And a lot of times that's all a therapist really does, is point you back to reality.
Thank you.
You know, pointing you back to reality that you missed because of everything that you went through in your day and time. And I like what Jamie said on shows back. Sometimes what we as the African-American community need to do is really get that therapy to help us break free from a lot of the oppressions that was put on us.
Right.
From, I remember riding down the car. Riding down in the car and somebody holler out there, the police, you better get down. And so I'm like, oh my goodness, the police is the meanest. You know, you need therapy to be able to break you from that.
Yes, sir.
Because, you know, when you see it, social media is always the bad side of what policing is doing. But you don't see the police officer that's jumping rope with the kids or at the community center playing basketball. So we need to be able to get released so that we can see, okay, wait a minute. We put a lot of pressures on ourselves.
Yeah, I agree. That's good stuff, man. That's good stuff. I know we've been going a while, guys, because, listen, we're going to have a part 2 to this thing because we just only scratching the surface tonight. But anyway, I don't know how long we've been going right now. So, but, yeah, that's good stuff. But that's going to be a part 2 to this thing. But anyway, CT, you know, you're right. Being you're not alone when your feeling doesn't have to define your future. Reaching out to someone and just asking for help, there is hope. There's healing, and that's a path forward. if there was one message that you will ever listen to, remember, that want every listener to remember tonight, and I'll give you a minute to think about it before we close out. If that's one message that you want to send to our listeners tonight, and guys, make sure you do subscribe to this. Make sure you share this, because there were some really good nuggets in this thing. What would that
Well,
one?
you know it's about to get hot in here.
Get hot.
You know it's about to get hot in here with the last message.
Yeah.
Twofold. Number one, I want to say vulnerability is not weakness. But I also want to speak to our female viewers today. When a man is willing to open up himself to you, you cannot be loose lips sink ships.
There you go.
Don't you tell your best friend, don't you tell your mother, because you may get only one shot at a male's true vulnerability.
Yes.
And if you take that and go, and you cannot throw it in his face when you get in an argument, you can't keep saying because your daddy went there. You can't keep saying because your mama did this. No, if he opens up to you, that is a rare window. That's what separates a real wife or real woman from a lot of other females in a man's past, because every woman do not get vulnerability. And if he's vulnerable with you, you gotta hold that within you. You've got, and I'm not saying if he's suicidal, you got to hold that in you. But I'm saying if he's able to say, this is what I went through, and I'm not afraid to cry over this, that is something to protect. And I think a lot of times women, you inadvertently, and I put this in the book, you push a man in a direction that you want to see him in rather than the direction that God wants him in. I had one lady say, well, my husband don't never talk. We get to church and I got to do all the talk. Well, he may not be the church talker, but he may be the one that when he gets home, he's able to share and pour into you, so that when y'all get back out there, you can share more. And so I would always say this, that loose lips, Flip Wilson said this in one of my favorite movies, Let's Do It Again. Over and over, Uptown Saturday Night. He said, loose lips will sink ships, and the bigger the lips, the bigger the ships. And they say, some of y'all go blah, 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 blah. And so you really got to protect that vulnerable. If it's your son, if it's your nephew, you really got to protect that, because that's a real window into the soul of a man.
All right, I love it. Jamie, give my listeners something, man, tonight. There's so many guys that jumping on. Man, I'm getting so many calls, guys. Worthy Conversation is really growing. Thank you, guys, for being part of these beginnings, these new beginnings for us. You jumping on with us while we early, and we are growing, guys, and we want to continue growing, but I need you to subscribe to our channel. Mostly, guys, we got so much traction on Facebook, TikTok. I need that traction more. I need more traction on YouTube. So, guys, make sure you go on YouTube and watch these clips. Watch the whole episode, guys. This really here gonna bless somebody tonight with my Pastor CT Kirk here and my boy Jamie. There's a plenty of nuggets, guys. But Jamie, give my listeners something to hold on to, brother.
I would just say, as far as like trauma and mental health, is relax. Like that simple word right there is relax. Like, let go. 'Cause a lot of us are like just clenching onto something, and we don't even know what we're clenching onto, but we're clenching on control of everything. And I would just say relax. Yeah, that's a word for me.
Yeah. Hey guys, but like I say, I got my brother Terrence. I can't remember Terrence. Just left my name, Terrence. But anyway, he gonna be on the show with us, man. And he got a nonprofit, and he deal with a lot of mental health stuff. So we gonna bring him back on, and he gave me some stuff to share with you guys. But he was trying to get here tonight, but he couldn't get back in time. But man, I just want to say to you guys, don't hurt your families. Go get some help. Your mental health matters. Your life matter, guys. Your story matter. And no matter what you face today, just remember this: you don't have to fight your battles alone. You don't have to do it alone. There's some people that would love to help you. This brother CT is on every social media platform. Man, reach out to him, man. I believe in this young man. I trust this young man, and I believe in, because I don't put a lot of stock in everybody, but I put a lot of stock in this young man here. So reach out to him. He have a lot of answers, and I think so many of you been calling me this week all over the world. Hey, and I tell everybody, say, God has a funny sense of humor, because I'm only on just to do Worthy Conversation, but I've been you know, me and my wife been having to pray with people. We've been having to witness to people. Man, they calling all over the world, and I thought we was. Hey, one brother wanted to come on and speak politics, you know, but we gonna do more thing with Worthy Conversation. We gonna branch out. We branching out. We gonna do more. We gonna have more platform for you guys to reach out to us. But listen, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you reach out to it. And men, don't suffer in silence. I'm your boy Wade J. Worthy Conversation. My brother CT Kirk. CT, tell them where where they can find you at for our new viewers, what church, and tell them just make sure you just tag in about you. Let them know about your books and everything.
All right.
Yeah.
You can go to my website, ctkirk.com. I got my books right there. You can also go to Amazon and just about get any one of the books. I'm really trying to write on topics that are taboo topics to many people. And so get those things out there to be able to talk about breaking the silence, why me, boys I'm molested too. I have Praying Woman is a Dangerous Woman. That's me right here. You can go and get as many books as you want. You can invite me to come to your church, your conference. We'll talk about the books and everything and just be able to help you to be able to heal in so many different areas. I pastor in Rock Hill, South Carolina, Sanctuary of Life Outreach Center, also known as the Solo Center, where our focus is making the community better.
Mm-hmm. And guys, like I said, we're still looking for sponsorship because we want to keep this show running. We want to get more equipment. We want to get better things to help make this show be more fluent and to be able to reach the masses. So reach out to me, guy, if you want we want you to want me to advertise your business. That's what the sponsorships are for. You want me to advertise your business or whatever, you make sure you give me a call and I'll give you a package. But anyway, I'm your boy Wade J, and I'm out of here, guys. Be blessed.
If you would love seeing more content like this, let Worthy Conversations with Wade J advertise your business.